Welcome to Insatiable, the podcast where we discuss the intersection of food, psychology, and culture. If you're struggling with your food, you're already dealing with your emotions. It's just not in that much of a productive way. Okay, so it's not going to be any harder. And I say this as someone who binged, overate. I had every kind of crazy, out of control eating. It's not harder than that. I'm your host, Ali Shapiro, an integrated health coach, 32-year and counting cancer survivor, and have radically healed my relationship with food and my body. And for the past 17 years, I've been working with clients individually, in group programs, and in company settings to do the same. Welcome. The information in this podcast should not be considered personal, individual, or medical advice. We are officially in back to school season. I'm sure most of you with kiddos, your kiddos have already gone back to school. Essa started kindergarten the second to last week of August, I believe. Or no, it was the last week of August. And oh my God, so many big feelings. He was so excited to go. The first time he took the bus on the second day, Carlos and I may or may not have followed the bus. It was like going all the way across the city and he's 5, but we didn't let him know. So he doesn't listen to my podcast, so he'll never know. Maybe when we're older, we'll tell him. But anyways, I love fall. I joke this is my prime time. It is my birthday season too. So maybe when it's our birthday time, we all feel kind of a renewed sense. But while this year is actually back to school for my family, for years, I loved fall because I would go back to school with my diet, right? I'd be like, I'll start after Labor Day. And when that never happened, I'd said, I'll start on the fall equinox, which, is like September 20th, 21st. When that didn't happen, I'd be like, I'll start on Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year. And sometimes that would be before the equinox, sometimes afterwards. And when that wouldn't happen, I'd be like, I'm going to start on my birthday, which is October 1st. And here's what I didn't realize at this time. Fall, or if you're in the spring for Southern Hemisphere, fall is a great time for fresh starts. These transitional periods are great. I know New Year's, fall, everyone's kind of like, New Year's resolutions, goals, all that stuff at this time, they never work. But the truth is there are natural turning points that it's time for fresh starts. And I love fresh starts, from like a new notebook. Oh my God, I used to love getting school supply, to New Year's, to like a huge, big astrology cycle. But here's what I didn't know is that a fresh start is not the same thing as a clean slate. So a clean slate means this time will actually be different. I will be different, right? And a clean slate requires a mindset shift, okay? And not the no pain, no gain, or recommit to your why kind of mindset that is taught by probably 90% of coaches. I mean a flexible mindset, one that can think outside the all or nothing box, that can respond to stress in real life in a way that aligns with your values and goals instead of chuck it, F it, or I deserve this eating, essentially falling off track with our eating. But most health professionals, health coaches included here, aren't taught how to teach growing a flexible mindset. And this is why sticking with health changes is a known challenge amongst health and wellness professionals, right? Like, you may be frustrated that you haven't been able to find a sustainable plan, but let me tell you, those of us in the nutrition space and the fitness space, we know this is something that is the norm, not the exception, to not be able to stick with things consistently. It's not your fault. It's not other coaches' fault. It's not even your doctor's fault, right? It's just the cultural waters we swim in, unless this is what we study, unless I had a very unique graduate degree, so I was able to think outside the box. Plus, I personally struggled so much, I was like willing to dig a lot deeper. The cultural waters we swim in just value surface and fixing, right? And so unless you know to question that, and truthfully, the only reason I questioned that was because I really wanted results. I wanted to be able to maintain how good I felt. I still wanted to lose a couple pounds, even though I had lost a bunch of weight just from balancing my blood sugar and gut health. But I wanted the results to stick. And so I had the time and the resources to dive deeper and really focus on what is deep transformation. And so what I want to share with you today is a few rigid mindset beliefs that kept me stuck, essentially saying diet starts tomorrow or maybe after Labor Day, after my birthday, right? It's the same concept, right? I'm going to start later, really hoping things would be different every back to school season, not just with my diet, but school in general, right? But they never were for too many years. So this is the rigid mindset that keeps us stuck and doesn't give us this clean slate. So one of the first ones is that I believe this, and this is what I often hear with people considering my programs. Okay. So Why Am I Eating This Now Live, my group program is open for registration now through Wednesday, September 10th. And you can think of this as like kind of step one of a truce with food. Like we're going to get really clear on what's the root of why you fall off track emotionally, and then discover what those triggers are, what needs are not being met, how to get those needs met, why it can sometimes be hard to have our needs met. And that's what the program is. Okay. So here's some of the things that I wish I knew back when I really wanted a fresh start and a clean slate. And that also clients come to me, wondering if it's the right time for them. And they often think, I just need to learn more about nutrition, or I just need a meal plan. And the truth is that nutrition is about 20% of the equation. Okay. The other 80% is the emotional work. And I have so many clients who finally sign up and they're like, I've heard you're not the only person, Allie, who's told me it's emotional work. And I used to roll my eyes and be like, yeah, that's annoying. And now I like really get it. I see it. I'm working on it. I'm making changes. Okay. But the reality is you need both, right? This isn't either or with nutrition or the emotional stuff. You need both. So yes, if you want to try to find a better meal plan, a different, I don't know, nutrition plan, you can do Why Am I Eating This Now or the emotional work in conjunction with that. Okay. It doesn't have to be either or. Sometimes my clients come to me and I am not their first self-improvement rodeo, right? They have been to therapy. They've worked with other coaches, right? They're on a path of personal growth and evolution, and they really, want to be the best. And so a version of themselves. And so sometimes they think, should I do this or do I just need more therapy? And what I want to say is therapy can be really wonderful. Okay. But the work required to grow a flexible mindset is usually outside therapy's scope. But both can work, especially together. They can be really wonderful. Some of my clients bring the work that they're just the self-discovery that they have in Why I'm Eating This Now into their therapy, or it helps the therapy them make different connections they weren't able to make in therapy. So you can do both together, or some clients aren't seeing therapists at all. But again, it can be both. Another thing people ask me, and this is what I thought as well, but this is what people are like, what's wrong with me? I think I can just figure this out on my own because I'm the only one who can't eat like a normal person. And the reality is that while personal responsibility matters, we heal faster and deeper in healthy communities with people who truly get it. That is almost like the conditions that enable us to take personal responsibility. So if you think of like sequence, right? What's the right sequence to do things? Getting support first will help you with the personal responsibility, right? You need both. It's not either or, especially with food issues, which are most deeply about attunement to your needs, hunger included, but it doesn't stop at hunger. Okay. We simply cannot develop our own attunement muscle on our own. Like nature never designed us to be isolated on our own when we're struggling. And so what we need to actually do is develop attunement with ourselves, and we need other people who know what they're doing, myself, but you also need a group. You attune to the group and the resonance and what overlaps with what other people are saying can really help build that muscle for you. And if we already had an attunement muscle, you probably wouldn't be struggling with food, right? That's really why that's part of the reason that my clients have so much success and I had so much success is we developed that attunement muscle. And you just can't do that on your own. And lastly, this is another big one. My clients tend to be very socially aware. There's so much heartbreak right now in the world. Yeah, I just almost want to give a pause for that. I feel it deeply. The world is on fire right now, right? I always think of Billy Joel's like, we didn't start the fire, hashtag 80s and 90s, but it doesn't take away the intensity of what's happening in our lifetime, right? So sometimes people feel like I feel guilty spending time on food and health, let alone trying to feel good. And I get this one. I mean, I have been politically engaged and active and aware. In fact, part of why I love my holistic nutrition degree is it got into the politics of food, right? This was like 20 years ago when it wasn't quite in the news like it is now. But I still remember feeling guilty about caring about weight loss as I was going to phone bank to help get out the vote because I was really unhappy that the Iraq war had happened after 9/11. Okay. And I like was going to my Weight Watchers meeting and I felt really, yeah, I mean, I was going to phone bank and I passed my Weight Watchers meeting and I was like, ugh. But here's what I have learned, and it's taken me actually a really long time to learn this. Not that caring is wonderful. It hasn't taken me a long time to learn. I love that my clients care so deeply. I love that I care so deeply. And this guilt often comes from a cultural conditioning that life is zero sum. Okay. American culture is built on this, right? If women get ahead, men have to lose. This is why we're seeing a huge backlash right now against women's rights, because there is a certain belief system within a certain demographic of people that, oh my God, if women win, men lose, right? And this goes on and on. You know, that's in a whole other podcast. But individually, and that's not true, right? Patriarchy hurts everyone, men and women. But there's this assumption that if you gain, right, if you take time for yourself, if you take time, you take resources, someone else has to lose, which means you're not doing enough to help. That the time you could have spent on X, Y, and Z is why that problem persists, right? There's this cultural myth that women should care and give endlessly. I was listening to Dr. Carol Gilligan speak, and I believe she was talking about why patriarchy persists. And she says that, you know, this is totally cultural conditioning. This isn't innate, but that that boys are taught that they're part of the world and girls are taught that they should be in service to the world, right? So we wonder why so many of us think we have to earn our worth because our conditioning is like, how are you serving the world, right? So this is how we believe we should care and give endlessly about everything all the time. Taking care of ourselves gives more energy and creative thinking to show up for the causes you care about without burning out and feeling chronically pessimistic, okay? And of course, there will be times when you want to or have to defer your needs, right? Any parent knows that, any caregiver to an aging parent, to my clients tend to be doctors, therapists, they tend to be in care, in giving roles, right? There are times. But having a flexible mindset enables you to discern when that's necessary versus sacrificing your needs as a chronic default, right? Now, if you're listening to this closely, you probably see a pattern. These beliefs are rooted in either or thinking, which is a classic form of all or nothing thinking. Okay. And this is actually what we work on in the program. I don't think you can have sustainable results if you can't get out of the all or nothing rigid mindset beliefs of kind of like perfectionism or guilt and shame, right? And the fix here isn't rewriting every belief one by one, right? The inefficiency horror. I love efficiency. I would like, oh, you don't need to do that, right? Let's save time. Rather, when you grow a flexible mindset, you naturally start looking for the and, okay? And when you can hold more possibilities, you can succeed beyond what you can imagine right now. So, Ginny Summerlin, who was on the podcast 2 weeks ago, she is someone who really, in her, exit survey testimonial, really captured what getting out of a black and white mindset did for her. So I'm going to read what she said. She said, before, why am I eating this now? I was stuck in the why don't I have any willpower loop? That person did Weight Watchers and looks great. What's my problem? Why can't I stick with this? It seems so easy for everyone else. Just count points and you're going to lose weight. Why am I eating this now? Got me out of my black and white thinking and showed me that there's an option C. It helped me break the cycle of self-blame, inadequacy, and isolation. It saw me as a whole person, right? All of what we're doing makes sense. You'll really understand that as you go through the framework. It saw me as a whole person within our supportive group. I now have a new inner dialogue around my food choices and a more profound understanding of myself. This program has been transformative. And the thing that I want to emphasize here is because, especially as a mother, you're always hearing like, oh, put your oxygen mask on first. And I think most mothers are like, no, I'm not going to do that. Right? Especially like if the plane is going in an emergency, like I would definitely secure S's oxygen mask first. And that is just our default. And often we don't realize when we're doing that when everybody's needs can get met. Okay. So what Ginny was talking about is it showed me like you're going to actually experiment and see how you taking time for yourself, getting your needs met. It's not always about time. Sometimes it's just asking other people what they actually need and realizing you've been over giving, over delivering, and it's unnecessary. But that's a big part of what this program is, okay? Because when you learn how to grow a flexible mindset, that's when you get a fresh start and a clean slate. It changes you, right? The calendar will change, but you have to change too, right? You need a clean slate. And it will give you that with food and the reasons you turn to food. Yes, food is calories and macros. And you're going to learn it's a portal to your emotional hungers too. So if this feels like your time and you really want to have a fresh start and clean slate, I hope you'll join us in the program. The link is in my show notes to join. Again, registration ends Wednesday, September 10th, and we start Wednesday, September 17th. And this is my once a year program. And it's like the first step in Truce with Food. And some people say, should I just take Truce with Food? And it's like, actually, the way that there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff happening that I'll be rolling out. New brand, lots of new exciting stuff. But actually, because this is like the first step, you have to take this program before you can even take Truce with Food anymore. It's just, you'll be at a different developmental plateau by the time you get to the end of this. And you will be able to credit the price of Why Am I Eating This Now, which is $697, or there's, payment plan installments. You will be able to credit that towards Truce with Food, which starts in January. So definitely you want to start here. And now you have to, because there's just so many skills that people build. And I want you to get the maximum results. I'm a maximizer too. All right. Before I end though, I do want to go into a couple of other questions that I just got from this round and that I often get frequently too. And you'll start to see there's either or thinking in these questions as well. This either or, all or nothing, black and white is just permeates everything. And so that's why people are like, this is so life-changing, because you start to really have fulfillment with yourself and the choices around you. Okay. So a big question is, can I fail at this? No, you cannot. Okay. It's a flexible and no fail framework that meets you exactly where you're at. So we have people in the group who, some are retired, some are going through menopause, some have children that are small, some children have left the house. Everyone is coming to this at a different place. And it's a framework. It's not a formula, right? Everyone's kind of, even though I tell you this is so different, everyone's bringing a recipe, a template of other programs they've been to, but this is not that, okay? It's a framework you're going to learn, a self-awareness framework, so you can understand your triggers, needs, and how to get those needs met, okay? So in this program, as long as you're willing to show up, especially when things are imperfect, you're going to succeed beyond what you can imagine right now, okay? And we will actually be working through your perfectionist patterns, because that's the obstacle in the path. I'm getting too philosophical, but that's actually the problem, okay? I know perfectionism works. I know it can feel like it's scary to give that up. Look, I know I am a 3 on the Enneagram. I like to challenge. I like to achieve. I'm a maximizer. Like I hear you. And it just doesn't work with food. Okay. And that's part of having a flexible mindset. When do I want to put the pedal to the metal and go all out? And then when is that actually setting me back? And that's what you're going to learn in this program. What we do in the beginning of the opening circle, as soon as you join, it's called a second win exercise. And you're going to see what makes it hard for you to show up when things are imperfect. And we're going to give you support right away. And so many clients have been like, this was worth the price of admission, this exercise, because I couldn't even see how I was setting myself up with perfectionist expectations. Okay. So success and failure is not how you think about it typically. It's not, can you follow the plan? Can you stay ahead? No, this isn't ahead or behind. It's a support structure to understand this framework. Okay. So Success is, can you answer, why does my falling off track make sense? And that can be binging, emotional eating, overeating in social situations. This program supports all of that. So success is if you can answer, why does my falling off track make sense? What is the tail trigger occurring within me, right? So we're developing self-awareness. And what is my need with this trigger? And how can I get that need met since food almost works, but doesn't really? Okay. And so, as you can see, it's not either success or failure. It's all research. But I'm also going to give you a framework so that you don't just have to get stuck in. I never wanted to give something that was just like more self compassion. And again, you learn so much self compassion here, but I wanted self compassion that gets results. Okay. So, this is really how do I learn from this? Because some of my clients come and they have real health concerns that we have to get them eating better consistently. Okay. And this process works on not only helping eating better consistently, but it removes so many stress patterns from your life. So it's like a BOGO, a twofer. But again, you'll learn how to do that in the program, but it's also just redefining what success and failure actually mean. Another thing I get is it sounds a bit woo. This sounds too woo for me, which I love. I get that. Hearing that food reflects your deepest relationship to yourself sounds very abstract, and it is. And we aren't a culture versed in the language of metaphor, which is how the body speaks, even though we use food metaphors all the time, right? Like, I have too much on my plate, right? But I just want to tell you, this isn't fluff. I'm kind of hardcore if you can't tell. I'm not hardcore in in certain things, but if you're going to put your time and money, like this is where my working class roots are like, you're going to get what you pay for. You're going to get the results. I want you to get your investment out of it. But my process is research based. It's one of the few ones out here that is research based and it's client proven. It's rooted in behavioral science, developmental psychology, and real world results. So I roll deep and practical. I have real tools you're going to apply immediately to your life so you can see the invisible patterns you can't currently see and how to interrupt them. Oh, and so too, either or. It sounds a bit woo. Woo is kind of a derogatory way to say the feminine, which is more our feeling function. And if I'm going to show you how the sausage is made, all food issues, not all, nothing is ever, but most food issues come back to having trouble with the feeling function. And so this is feminine and it's quote unquote masculine. It is research based and it's teaching us how to weed through that more qualitative experience of our triggers and needs. Okay. Other things, will it be personalized, right? Yes, you will apply the universal principles to your unique triggers and routines. It is never one size fits all. Like I said, some people come into this and they tell me they sign up from this program from insomnia after a binge. Other people are like, "Oh, I just found this work. You're giving me language to things that I suspected but never had the language for, and I'm ready to dive in." Other people are like, I'm not sure, but we're all coming to the change process at different circumstances. Some people are here because their doctors recommended it, right? Like they have to get some health stuff under. Some people are coming with GLP-1s and they just want more space the GLP-1s are giving them more space to work through the reasons they turn to food because they would like to eventually go off of those. Okay. So this is never one size fits all. You're going to have a unique process that meets you where you're at. And it's so much easier to see what's happening with other people and then apply it to ourselves. That's just kind of how this clarity works. So, and when I do my exit surveys, like everybody's like the group. This is so amazing. The group, right? So it's going to be personalized and you're going to benefit from the group. I'm going to do a max of 30 people this round. So this isn't like a massive program that you're going to get lost in at all. And then you have 2 small group coaching calls, and one in October and one in November that will also give you even more personalization. People want to know, will this help me lose weight, right? And the answer is it depends, okay? The real focus of this program is no longer feeling broken, having so much more compassion, less shame, having a clear, efficient path forward to grow beyond your food triggers and feel calm and control at home in your body. Okay. Now, obviously, if you keep with the tools, this leads to eating healthy consistency with overtime and you will lose weight. But that's not the focus of the program. And if your weight brings up one of your triggers, we're going to work on that for you. Okay. Because it's really about the weight and it's not about the weight. Can you see how holding the and? And once you embody holding the and, this is like, it makes more sense. Okay. Some people say, I don't know, I'm ready to deal with my emotions. And I get this, and it's not as scary as you think. Trust me. Like I said again, this is like Truths with Food part 1. Okay. This is like we're just in the baby pool to shallow end. Okay. We start small with tools that make food less emotionally charged. So it feels safe, not overwhelming. We go slow and steady. Okay. And again, we're all bringing templates of change from other programs here. But most programs, if it's a meal plan, if it's Whole30, if it's a autoimmune protocol, they expect all or nothing change overnight. That's not how I roll. My graduate work is in sustainable and transformative change. We are going slow and steady, and you will learn that small and slow and steady is the most profound. Okay. And I also just want to offer some gentle clarity. If you're struggling with your food, you're already dealing with your emotions. It's just not in that much of a productive way. Okay. So it's not going to be any harder. And I say this as someone who binged, overate. I deserve this eating. I had every kind of crazy, out of control eating. It's not harder than that. I will tell you that. Okay. One thing I often hear is I'm very busy. And that's actually exactly why this program works. The tools fit into your real life, even in your busiest weeks. There's a very flexible structure. Okay. And the structure, you get a 15 to 20-minute recording lesson. And then that releases after the opening circle. And then we meet the following week you're going to get one piece of homework that you're applying to your real life. Everything's immediately applicable. And then we have a coaching session for an hour and 15 minutes where I review the lesson, I coach people, and then a new lesson opens. So if you can dedicate about an hour, hour and a half per week to this program, that's more than enough time. Okay. And if you don't have that, check your phone usage. Bet you spend more time on social media. And I say that laughing because I'm working on reducing my own social media and phone use. And I've been tracking it and it's like, oh, I have more time than I think. Some people say my schedule is unpredictable. I travel a lot. I get that. And that's actually a more perfect reason to join because you're going to learn to eat with freedom anywhere without needing the right setup, the right meal plan. Okay. You're going to learn how to meet your needs wherever you are. And then lastly, is now the right time? Okay. And when I think of either or, there's never a perfect time or like an awful time. There can be an awful time. If you feel like you're drowning and can't keep up with life right now, don't do this right now. You do need to have a little bit of space, a little bit of capacity to think and self-reflect. But timing is tricky because most of the time, we're not going to feel ready, right? We're looking for this. I'm ready or not ready. It's usually both. I feel ready and not ready. Okay. And food struggles cost us so much more than we realize in money, energy, and health, especially as we age. Okay. I have a lot of people who had to do a lot of the body positivity and health at every size work. And that work is so important. And in that time, some health challenges have developed, right? And I don't want anyone to join this out of fear and panic because that's never a great place to change. And though you do, as you get older, want to get ahead of health stuff as much as possible. I wish I knew what I know now about menopause after I had my baby. Okay. I would not have gained 30 pounds, or maybe it was like 20. I don't know. I wasn't weighing myself. I would not have lost all the muscle mass. It's a lot harder to catch up. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It's just so getting ahead of this stuff or dealing with it as it comes up is really, really important. Okay. And this program is going to give you back bandwidth you can't put a price on in terms of right timing, et cetera. So one of the things I would encourage you to is this the right time for you? I don't know. I can't answer that for you. What I would suggest you do is when you sink into your body, not the mental chatter, when you think of joining us, do you feel a calm, open feeling? Does it feel kind of like, this is my next step? I've had people write to me being like, I feel like this could be a game changer. Yes, you're right. It is. Trust me, it's why I'm still doing this 18 years later. I freaking love supporting people to transform. But if you may feel fear, a little bit of fear, or, oh God, I've invested in so much before. I get it. Most programs aren't addressing these root causes. In fact, I don't know anyone else who does this way. But if you have that fear and a feeling of calm and expansion, it's probably the right time. Okay? That's it. I hope these concerns that people have asked me, that I hear every time there's a round of a program, that I also had the same rigid, fixed mindset beliefs that kept me stuck much longer than needed to. But if this developing a flexible mindset and like really embodying these things we want to believe, like it is the emotional work too. You can do this in conjunction with therapy. The world's on fire, and part of your work in these unsustainable systems and finding a sustainable way to care so that you can be creative and come to your work with more hope, more optimism, because you aren't so depleted, right? When we are so depleted as people, it's easy to feel really hopeless. And then we all know. We've all been burnout, worn out, all these things. So if you feel called, I look forward for those of you joining. Again, registration ends Wednesday, September 10th. At the time of this recording, which is about a week before, not even a week before my free masterclass, which happened on Wednesday, September 3rd, we're already 50% full. I don't know. This year is really weird. And so I don't know what it will be, but I wouldn't wait until the end. Okay? Thanks for tuning in, and I will be back in your earbuds or your speakerphone for a podcast soon. Have a great September.